Hey everyone, welcome to Knox Makers. It's Tuesday night and we have our weekly show and share tonight. This is when we get together, we show off projects we're working on, something that we've made, something we need help on, something that we've utterly failed at, and get help from the audience and show off our creations. We have a sign-up list, and first on our list tonight is Isaac, who has his etchings.
Hey friends, I wanted to share with y'all a little experiment that I did on our CO2 laser this past weekend. I saw on the internet, as perhaps you did, this nifty process that allows you to etch glass while also marking it boldly, and I thought that sounded like that would be worth fooling with. So I've got some examples to show you here. Let's see. So these are little pieces of glass that I etched test patterns onto, and the one on the left here is the first one that I made. It's not as bold as you might like it to be, and so I made another test pattern that causes the laser to burn harder and slower, which is what's going on over here. And this one was fairly satisfactory. Of course, you can't just put the glass directly in the laser. You have to pre-treat it, and the treating is this titanium dioxide stuff, which is a incredibly white powder, which is used, I believe, to make white paints ordinarily, and also the embarrassing kind of sunscreen. You mix that up in two parts, with 2 parts of water and then 1 part of Elmer's glue, and that suffices only to make the coating sort of stick on the glass while the laser is working, so that the air assist doesn't blow the powder all off. I'm going to hand these around. The edges are not sharp, but they are, of course, glass, so think about that. I'm not accustomed to making artistic things on the laser. I usually just cut parts out, but I did try. So here's my attempt. I know, I'm so predictable. I think you can see the hatch fill here. This, of course, is using the KM laser extension to Inkscape to hatch fill the logo. It turned out fairly well, I think. After you do the etching, then you've got still the white coating on your glass, and so you've got to get that off. So I just put it under some warm tap water and hit it with a dish scrubby, and it came off pretty easily. I was surprised that the black stuff on here seems really resilient. My understanding is that the titanium dioxide turns black but also fuses with the glass, and so it seems like it's going to be fairly durable. I did also experiment with doing something similar on small pieces of glass mirror for fun. And here you can see those. I don't know if this is going to show up, but sort of. And so once again, the same 2 test patterns. You can't help but notice that this one is terribly broken. It looked okay in the laser, but when I reached in to take the piece out, it just crumbled in my hand. It was a really unusual feeling. This is, of course, where the laser was burning the hottest and the slowest, and so I'm guessing this is cheap glass, or maybe it's in some way incompatible with this process. Not super sure there. But I went ahead because I thought maybe if I don't go that hard, stay in the safe zone back here, maybe we can still make it work. So I did attempt it. Yes. I don't know if you can see, but this one is actually also broken. That's why I've got it glued down on this backer board. It seemed fine when I got it out of the laser, but as soon as I got it under the water and started scrubbing it, it just once again crumbled. But it took a long time to cut, and so I want to show it to you, which is why I glued it on this thing. I think it may be dangerous, though, so I'm not going to hand it around. Anyway, though, I think that this process probably does have some promise if we dial it in a little bit. Any questions? Yes.
I saw on the logo that there were like little specks in the black that were like clear. Was that before you scrubbed them or after?
That was before, and I'm not sure if that was a defect in the hatching process or what exactly went wrong there. But I don't think it was because it was scrubbed, no. Anyone else? Sir?
Like that test pattern, how long did that take to burn?
Test pattern took like maybe 2 minutes. It takes no time at all, whereas this was perhaps an hour. It took longer than I wanted it to. But again, I'm not skilled at this aesthetic laser cutting. I'm sure that it could be optimized quite a bit. Anyone else? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think that that's probably right on. I read that it does work with tempered glass, and probably it would put up with it more. I don't know about Pyrex, but that would be a cool thing to try too. Okay. Thank you very much.
Next on our list, we have Joe.
Hello, everybody. Back when I first started at Knox Makers, my very first show and share ever was about folded books. I have a grandfather who's passed, had a used book and art supply / gallery. He was a classically trained oil painter in northern Michigan. And when he went, and well, even before that, I've been loaded up with all these really cool books. They're honestly not worth any money, but they're like 100 years old. They're really, really cool. There's not a lot of calling for these books. So I tried to look for things to do with them. So that even though the book itself might be worth like $2, a 100-year-old book, if you did something neat with it, then maybe like it could become a thing of value for other people. We have a makers market, and the very first makers market we did, I tried to do a little booth out there, and it met with a lot of positive reviews, all just paper folded book things, and I tried to grow in this journey a little bit. When I first started, it's basically like you can just follow a pattern. So you can kind of see like first page you measure down so far and make a fold. Second page, measure down so far, make a couple of folds. And this is that pattern here. It makes like a dragon as you fold all the pages through it. You have to have a book, you check how many pages it has and such, and then you go through and fold all the book up. Oh, geez, I'll have to zoom out. Minus, 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 minus. Whee. So, well, I don't know if this is the best, it's also upside down. I don't know if this is the best example, but you can kind of see the dragon in it, right? You can also, like, there's a lot of them out there. Most of them are free. And even if you do pay for a pattern, it's usually like $1 or $2. This one, you can put in words. It says learn. There are also some cut and fold patterns. Of course, I made an H because my last name is Hall. So it gives it a little bit more depth. But, and these are really easy to do. It's just like, I don't know, I kind of feel like it's sort of like crocheting or following a knitting pattern somewhat, where it's just you go down it. You can travel with it and do fun things. This one says read. Anyways, so that was my beginning on the journey. Started to get a little bit more creative. I'll shout because I'm not into the mic. Oh, jeez. I should have set this up before. But, of course, then when you're talking about paper, my mind immediately went to, like, origami things. So I started making a flower vase. You can put your folded flowers in them like a regular flower vase, but they're different flowers and things, but all made of books, right? So you take the pages out of them, you cut them the right way, and it just kind of adds another layer onto, like, I'm doing origami, but with a twist, right? give them to your girlfriend. I know that, Valentine's is coming up and such. And then I started reaching out a little bit further and got a little bit more creative with things. And my favorite thing that I found to do with them is actually I'll find old, like Barbie doll type things and sort of start to upcycle them a little bit. What I'll do is I'll use the top half of the body and then you can make skirts for them easily with one book. And then it's almost like a paper mache application after that, where you cut out shapes from the pages. And I just use Elmer's white glue. It makes a great paper mache. And brush it on all wet, apply it onto it like wallpaper almost, and make their dresses. I'll use beads for all their jewelry. So this one kind of has like a wood forest theme to it. I found moss and little sticks and little green things to put onto her. And this one, this one's my favorite because it's almost, like books made of paper, and we have this fire doll, right? So she's burned her skirt a bunch of times, holding the candle, which is the instrument of her destruction. But but she's my favorite by far. Anyways, it's just a great way to use these things still. There's no way to donate them really. They're not, and outside of this one, I'm not going to burn any books. But anyways, that's what I've been doing. And I enjoyed tonight revisiting my very first show and share. I have a lot to put away, so I'll take questions while I'm doing it if there are.
Yeah, Joe, how long did it take you to do like the doll on the outside?
The dolls, the skirts are pretty easy. It's just one fold as you go around. It's just finding a book that has enough pages to make a full skirt. And then after that, it probably takes me quite a while to actually do it all because I'm having fun, being meticulous and trying different bits. And then also, I do sort of try to find fun words to put into them instead of just complete randomness of pages. So I have a hard time estimating, and I did do these a minute ago, so I don't really remember exactly how long, but I would guess that it took me a week each doll. Thanks, guys. I'll try and get out of the way.
Thank you, Billy.
Did I mess something up?
It's all right. So is it possible to use a welder doing that?
On her, maybe.
Sheet metal?
Don't pigeonhole me.
Really cool. I like seeing people's project, how they improve. What?
I was supposed to segue if you read. It
Oh,
says
yes.
Joe then Aliki, and I was supposed to segue. So then there's the follow-up. I had the project the other week from Aliki's Swarovski star.
No, where are you going? Okay, let's see. So, this is a follow-up. So let's put it. So this is without. So if you guys remember, this was a Christmas present for me. Every year, Joe gifts me a Swarovski Christmas ornament, and I like keeping them out all year round because they're beautiful, they're shiny, they collect light, and they make me happy, which is the most important part. But I know you've seen the little crooks that you can hang special ornaments from. They might have 2 or 3 little hooks. We had a lot of them because we've been married for a minute. So Joe and I had agreed that we were going to do less commercial Christmas and more let's gift each other things of more meaning. And he both solved a problem, made something really pretty I don't know if you can tell the color in this, but it's all the same color now. The last time that Joe showed it, it had all the burn marks and all of that, and while really nice in a weld shop or something else, this is in my living room, so I needed it to be all one color. But it turned out really pretty. As you can see, we've got it over the door here, and I wanted to show you what it looks like with most of the ornaments. There was one casualty. We're putting it back together. It's not dead yet, and it's funny because it's one of my favorites too. But you see here, you've got basically all the stars, and we've played around with, kind of putting them in different areas, but it is beautiful. I love my gift, and we wanted to follow up and show you guys how it turned out. So that's it.
Very pretty. Next up, we have Shandis, who is showing off headlight housing. It's exciting. It's exciting.
All right, this is my first show and share, so it's gonna be rough. I'll wait. Get all these for you. All right. So my project that I've been working on is a motorcycle. It's an old 80s motorcycle, and I don't know about any of y'all, but you see something, you go, I could tweak it. I could do this, I could do that. Well, I have that problem. So the headlight, I wanted a headlight that had the headlight, but it was protected. And I wanted the housing to actually have a kind of a visor over it, and I wanted to cut back, and I had it vision, this vision in my head, but I also wanted it to curve kind of back and almost kind of match with if you can see the gas tank that I'm going to be using. I wanted to kind of match that a little bit. Well, I started, and I used fiberglass, and I don't know if y'all can see that very well, but it was near perfect. That's a joke. So I thought, maybe I can do it in the 3D printer, something like that, and kind of figure it out there. So I started, and actually was astounded by what actually happened. So I tried PLA. It's a softer, or not softer, but I guess lower temperature melting. And as I did it, I tried it and tried to see if it would work, and it kind of worked. It had a couple issues, but it gave me some promise, and so it had that, but it stopped before I was finished. But it gave me what I kind of needed, and so that ended up being the first. And what I love, I love this. As I was doing it, I had a number of people asking, "Hey, what is it?" And they'd usually, I go, "Well, it's PLA," and they'd follow up with, "Are you sure that's gonna work for what you're doing?" And I thought it was funny because it was like about every person that came along that kind of knew what it was and stuff, they were like, "Are you sure?" I was like, I'm not, but we'll go with it. And so I did a little bit more research, and I appreciated that. I loved that because it gave me that little bit of insight that I needed to kind of understand what I was working with more. So I went back to the drawing board, per se, and I actually came across ASA plastic, a little bit harder plastic. And so this is about 70% done. But I'll show you where it bolts in, if you can see that. So I ended up adding some things, adding this, I took out some of this right here, this little ledge, and so that way I can hopefully pop the headlight in, which I tried it the other day and almost couldn't get it back out. So I'm gonna wait until I really get it towards the final product. But I tried it on the other day. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. That's the fiberglass one. Don't mind the background, it's messy. We listen, we don't judge. All right, so that's the headlight with it on there at this point. Gas tank's not on it. And then I don't know if you can see that, but it kind of, I wanted it to sit a certain way, so I had to kind of mess with the holes in the back and stuff. But I've been pretty elated at the turnout of it, and I'll pass it around for y'all. It's pretty durable, but I'll kind of nice. I'll get it some sanding and a little bit of TLC, and I'll probably end up reinforcing this with some fiberglass in the back to where it mounts. But yeah, that's kind of it. And I mean, if y'all have any questions, I might have answers, but at this point, I'm kind of winging it. No. Yeah.
You said you were talking about sanding it down. Are you planning on painting it, or are you going to leave it just like it is as far as, I mean, it looks great like it is, I'm just curious.
Well, yeah, it's so the printing left a little bit of stuff, just kind of lines and things. If I do sand it, it's going to be like incredibly light, and I may actually, I've thought about some different things to finish it a little bit, instead of taking material away, probably just kind of barely adding. That way I have my parameter, I have what I need, but just kind of getting it to where it's that finished product that actually looks nice. But yeah.
How did you come up with your model for your headlight?
With much pain and suffering. So I hadn't used CAD before. I jumped on Fusion, and I don't know where ambition goes. I'm glad dragons don't exist, because I'd be the first one with a pen running out at it, trying to kill it. But I'd be that guy, you know. But so I figured out how to do certain parts of it, and then I wanted I knew what parameters I needed, and that's all I kind of went with, and just suffered along as the shape. I don't know if any of y'all know CAD, but the shape has to kind of close for you to then extrude it, which means that you're making it a more 3D shape or whatever. And so that's kind of what I ended up doing, but I had to figure out what that outline was, so that way I could make it go round, and then cutting it here, making a plane here and cutting it. So all that kind of went into it. And yeah, I mean, I learned a lot just doing that, but it was brutal. I cried quite a bit. Yeah.
How hot does the actual headlight get?
It won't get as hot. It's an LED, and so it will not look like this. This is when I had the fiberglass. I was trying to protect it, but it's an LED. I'm not completely sure, but if I needed to vent it, or do some other things to allow it to get a little bit more air, that's kind of one of my plans in the future is to take on that. Yeah. It's a Honda 1980 CB. It's a 900C, which is a bigger bike. So yeah, it's I cut off the back frame and did some other things, so I kind of shortened it a bit, but it's a pretty significant bike for what I'm doing. So like I said, my ambitions. But yeah, thank y'all. I can actually pass this one around for if anybody wants to check it out.
It looks like a lamp.
I know. Well, so my son, he was like, "Oh, can I have this?" I was like, "What are you going to do with it?" And then of course my mom's like, "Well, you can make a lamp out of it." And I was like, "Okay, I guess we're making a lamp now." So yeah, so that one actually is what that's going to end up being. So you'll probably see this again. Yeah, I'll come back and see it.
I think I can tweak that as like the unofficial motto here. Next up is Sean, and he has an alternate concept finishing saw.
Okay. It is also my first show and share. Give me a moment, sorry. So yeah, I actually got the idea for the alternate concept from Neil's. It's kind of a nod to his because of your previous ones. But I'm Canadian, and so one of the things I'd always wanted to do was essentially build my own chainsaw or put together something. I'd grown up with it. Canadians are typically born with a hockey stick, right? But that's the East Coast. I don't know about maple syrup and stuff. Like it doesn't get cold where I was from. So I was born like way differently on the West Coast. And you guys think I'm almost 50 and I'm talking about how I've played with chainsaws for over 40 years and people don't believe it. But my dad was a logger who made bad decisions, like letting his kid, a very small kid, play with a chainsaw. And so, actually, there's 8mm, right? But I did learn a lot over time. Like I was really spoiled learning how to use them. So like I know that's wrong. You don't ever smoke when you're working with a gas-powered instrument, okay? For real. But then I was supposed to come in here to the wood shop to get authorized. I'm not new, guys. I don't even know what it's called. To use the tools and stuff because I could only use the lathe. And the night I was supposed to do it, COVID came. Oh, you can't really see that. I took a COVID test and I was like, oh, I'm not coming in here tonight. So instead, over time, I had ordered all these parts and stuff. And I was stuck away from my family. I couldn't like hang out with them. So I went out to the shop outside. Maybe I can show it that way a little bit more. And, of course I break it all. I went out there and just started putting everything together. The problem that I had, I know it's PG-13, very quickly, I had forgotten that, it's not really going to show it. It's probably better. Wow, there you go. When you buy a chainsaw in Walmart, you can pick it up with your hands. When you put together something that's a little bit more industrial, I took the chain out of the bag, and that's when I started to cut myself. Every time, it's blood for the blood god, right? You sacrifice when you're building the thing, and then you don't cut your leg off later. But, so, the other thing is, I wanted to save money. So I ordered all my parts from China and stuff, and they come with these really weird screws and stuff that I wasn't used to. But I figured out really quickly that without Loctite, you're not going to want to put together a saw from China. I had a lot of failures building this thing, but eventually got to the point, if it'll pick it up, that I built a nice, powerful, I think it's 7.2 horse and 92 cc saw. To compare that, that's about twice as big as a saw I could buy down here. And there's the gloves right there, right? Now, I call this my finishing saw because I had a smaller chainsaw. Actually, there's a little bit bigger picture to put it kind of in perspective from a size. But I didn't know what to do with this thing. Again, I have COVID. I can't go see anybody. So I got on Facebook Marketplace and I found this. And, well, guys, I started, and this saw finished that pile pretty good. There's a little bit of it left, but we got a bunch of stuff. And then we brought it out here, actually, to Makers. We sealed it up. And I hadn't done that personally, so I big thanks to Michael B., who helped me. But I still couldn't use anything in here, so I cut it up with my chainsaw. Some more. And then Michael helped me make one of the pieces mostly round, because he was authorized on the bandsaw. Once I did that, I actually kept going on the lathe. The only thing I am actually authorized to use in there. I made several friends over the last few days doing this, other new guys, which was really, really cool. And until we ended up with what we're calling, we don't know yet, it's either a pole, a blade, a piece of firewood, or a piece of art. I basically have to let it dry out now and then bring it back in there and turn it again. So that's kind of where I ended up with building my own chainsaw so that I could finally make a bowl in here. So, oh, and there's one of the Joe gave me a new term, wood glitter. I've made a lot of wood glitter in my backyard now. Yeah, sorry.
What was the length of the blade?
That one on there is a 28-inch bar. The other thing, actually, I should mention, I put what's called a skip tooth chain on it. There's 3 things that'll kill a chainsaw. If you've got a dull chain at all, it'll create heat, which will just kill your thing. Because it uses mixed gas, if you put just pure gas in, it'll kill it. And if you ever lend your good saw to a friend, it'll kill it. So your good saw is always broken or in the shop, right? So, yeah. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Will you be sending your children out with the monster saw?
So I did actually baptize each of my children as a Canadian. My religion is chainsaw. I don't mean to talk about religion in here, but I do have some videos where I had my kids come outside, and yes, the 12-year-old has not yet used the big saw, but the 24 and 16-year-old have. If I can find, I actually have video of my eldest doing it because her best friend was over and just had to take pictures of her looking like a lumberjack. So, oh, here we go. So yes, that is the other thing. Using a saw, especially a big saw, safety equipment. Yes, it is up to you, but I wear the chaps and the helmet and the ear pads because it takes nothing. Again, if I can touch the chain a little bit in the bag and it cuts my hands to ribbons, I don't want to rub that thing on my leg even if it's off. So, cool. Well, thank you guys.
That is some dedication, Sean. Next up, we have Bill, who has a desk.
I want to know when this next service is for the chainsaw religion, because it sounds pretty cool.
I moved down here, so I had to switch to barbecue.
Oh, is that right? All right. All right, so my name is Bill Parker. I'm a new member. I'm excited to be here. This place is amazing. Everybody's been very gracious I've talked to. Took a class with Joe Saturday. It was fantastic. He's a great teacher. Highly recommend it. I wanted to show off a project I did in December. This was, I'm going to show kind of the finished product first. This was a desk that I made. My girlfriend, sometimes I call her my wife. It's the same person. If I say wife or girlfriend, it's not 2 different people. It's the same one. We're not really married, but we've been together a long time. She asked for a desk for Christmas, but she asked like at Thanksgiving. So I was like, oh, okay, we'll see what we can throw together for you. What she had been using was basically a hospital tray. And she has a real desk, but she hates it because it's up against the wall, so she doesn't want to face the wall. She wants to be in the middle of the room. She wants to be able to move into other rooms, where people are. So she was using this, and, it's like, 16 inches by 30 inches. You really can't do anything on it. And so she's like, well, I want it like that, but a little bigger. And that was it. That was all the, kind of criteria I received. And so I was like, well, I'm not just going to build a replica of that has different legs, because that's what she didn't like, the part where the thing was under her feet and it was kind of small. But I didn't want to ask a lot of questions either, because I wanted it to be a little bit of a surprise. I mean, she asked for this gift, but you still kind of, you want to surprise a little bit. So I said, okay. So I started thinking about it right away. And we were out of town when she asked for it. So I said, okay, I want to make it a little bigger. I want it to be a little more ergonomic. She's always got a Diet Coke, so it needs to have cup holders. I'm just thinking about these things. She likes to have a tablet so she can kind of watch a show while she's on the computer. So, I started putting it together in my head, and this was kind of the end result here. So what I used was basically cabinet-grade plywood, because we needed to be lightweight enough that it was easy to move around. So we used cabinet-grade maple. And I used pocket holes, pocket screws to, basically put everything together. It's real easy to do. You know, if you build any kind of furniture and you have an opportunity to use these, it works great. It makes a very strong project, and it's simple. It's really, really simple. The whole thing, like I said, it was kind of I wouldn't call it a rush job, but it kind of was. You know, I had to move quick. I had to come up with this concept, and, you know, I did some shopping on Amazon, so all these little accessories were included. You know, basically I got a little keyboard that looks like a cat. You know, got a little purple tablet stand, purple laptop stand. Did holes for these little cups. These cups are from like a billiard table. So little drink cups there so she didn't spill her drink all over what she's working on. Everything was done with pretty much with hand tools. So I, you know, used the jigsaw to cut the shape. Basically, I drew and cut one side, and then the pieces I cut off, I used the template for the other side. You know, just because I had limited time. I worked full time. You know, I had to go out of town during that period, so that 3-week period wasn't a lot of time to throw this together. But I was really excited with how it came out. Like, it came out a lot better than I was worried about. You know, I had a high expectation for myself, and, you know, I was worried I wasn't going to even get close, but it came out pretty good. The finish is lacquer, and I like using lacquer when I do woodworking projects because it's easy to work with. It's easy to fix. You know, if you make a mistake, I'm not a professional, I'm a novice. But, you know, when you're using lacquer, it's kind of easy to fix it and start over. One thing I did different here, usually I spray. And with this, I decided, I'm going to try brushing on the lacquer. And it really was a nightmare for me. I didn't use enough lacquer thinner. The weather was kind of bad. It was cold outside. I do a lot of my work outside normally, but it was just the wrong time of year to do that. So I was like, okay, well, I'll set up in the basement, and I'll put a fan by the screen door. It's going to suck all the fumes right out. It's going to be no problem. And not at all. You know, I thought without spraying it would be okay. The whole house stunk for hours, you know, so we had to go do something else. So, you know, brushing on lacquer, there's really not any benefit from a, you know, an environmental perspective is what I learned. So that was kind of the initial template layout there. Let's see, there's a little. This is before I cut any holes, and I'm doing it in the basement. I'm trying to do it over in a corner, so if she comes in the basement, she doesn't see anything. And then, you know, from there, basically I put the legs on, bought this little power strip off of Amazon so that she could put all her phones and tablets and stuff in. I told her, I said, don't plug in a hairdryer or a microwave or anything like that because it'll probably catch fire, but things that she's charging worked okay. But yeah, it was a simple design, and it actually, you know, like I said, I was pretty happy with how it came out. That's my furry assistant there. She loves to add a little hair to the lacquer. So you can see the little dog down there in the corner. But that's it. And then the wheels, the one thing that if I was making this design for somebody else, I would have made the bottom come out in the back further, give it a little more stability in case somebody leaned on it. She wanted to use this with like kind of an easy chair that has arms. And she's notorious for stubbing her toes, so I was trying to keep everything tucked in as much as I could. So that's why I kind of did this back side here in a little bit, because normally I probably would have come out more for stability, but she would have just tore her feet up, absolutely. So, you know, I kind of made a compromise there on the design. So, but that's it.
How long did it take?
It wasn't long, so it took just a little bigger than a single sheet of half a sheet of plywood. So it was probably out of an 8-foot sheet of plywood, you know, I had like 32 inches left over. And I spent maybe, I would say it was less than 10 hours from start to finish. So, yes. She loved it. She cried. So that was it. I knew I wrapped it up for Christmas, and then she unwrapped it, and she started crying because she didn't. Yeah. She didn't expect all the extras, and that was what I was hoping for. It's like, well, if I do these extras, you know, I can make it special, even though she kind of knew she was going to get a desk. So she loved it. And I keep asking her, is there anything else you would want to change? Because I was like, you know, it's something you can modify, right, after the fact, because especially we're working with the lacquer, it's easy if I make little changes, I can fix it. And she says, absolutely not. She likes it just the way it is. So, any other questions? All right. Well, thank you very much.
Next up, we have Sue, who has the next installment of her Little Creatures.
So many of you have been on the journey with me as I do amigurumi for the zoo, and I did the forest, and I decided that maybe I would venture. I'm making amigurumi is crochet of small things, and I'm making them so they fit in the baubles of our mystery machine. So what creature is better to go from land to sea or water than a little turtle? Right? And I really liked playing with color. So I was, okay, what is in the sea that is colorful that everybody can recognize? It's got to be the clownfish, right? So these are pretty small. This one is one of the larger ones. Then I was not at home, and all I had in my bag was gray thread. So I thought, well, okay, fine, I'll do the seal. And my grandson saw me, and he went, "Oh, Grammy, you need to do that octopus next, and can you do it just like my bathtub toy?" So that proved to be quite a challenge. This is my attempt to make it the same. So one thing you might notice on the toy octopus is he has light pink under each of his legs. So I tried to alter the pattern to do the light pink. I didn't really like the first one at all. And actually the first couple of ones at all. And so I altered a little bit. I redrew the pattern on paper. I tried it again and again. And I found this is the leg without any pink. And this was my first attempt. It just kind of rolled. I didn't like it. So I just kept trying. And about the 6th leg, I finally got it. But you know, it's okay. It's going to be okay. So then I thought, all right, I am going to do a seahorse. So I have this seahorse. And I did try, I'd found some thread in the Fiber Arts area that was just gorgeous. It's really sparkly. And I thought that would be pretty, but it was just too big to really make the wing on the seahorse. So what better to finish the sea than a crab? All right, because we all love crabs. And those are my creatures. Thank you. I'll be going to the air next. Oh, Amy. I answered it. Yes, we're going to go to the air. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. I can't wait to see the next ones. Next up is Thea, who has embroidery and an update.
For those of you that were here last week, 7 rows of my highlight fabric, 133 squares only fills the box halfway. So we're probably a 15 strip box. So today we are talking about embroidery. They've been plugging it a lot. We still have tickets available for the cross stitch course, which is 2 weeks. It's the last Saturday in February. And in that, we're going to make the little pin cushion. 2 weeks after that, we're going to do a embroidery basics. And you'll learn the 8 stitches. This was my template to see if we could get it to work or not. So we're gonna do, these are just basic stitches, and then you'll have a chance to learn how to put them together and to make a sunflower. That's a shaded stitch that you can use for anything. It doesn't have to be flowers. And then this is just for fun. So you can either keep your stitch reference whole, or we'll be providing the necessary parts, complete with pages, and turn it into a needle book. So you will have a needle book to store your needles and pins and your pin cushion, and then you'll be ready to do any project you want. So sometimes cross stitching is kind of easy because it's just one stitch, but people get intimidated moving on to embroidery. So this will give you most of the basic stitches you would need for a commercial embroidery project if you bought something.
Would you be able to use those embroidery stitches to mend things?
Yes. Visible mending is kind of a thing right now if you're on the internet, and a lot of these basic stitches are what you would want. So depending on interest, we'll probably be putting a hand mending class on the calendar in the next month or two as well. Any other questions? All right.
Next up, we have Dusty, who has glass etching.
Hello, I am not yet a member, but I'm seriously considering it. It's my first time here. I do hand do, no computers. I do glass etching in portraits.
Use the minus button, it will zoom out.
Okay, glasses. There we go. That's an 8x10 of my father. And then this is an eagle that I did. All done with the Dremel tool. I have an entire book full of these. Pretty much everything's been sold except for just a couple items. But I really enjoy it. I wanted my windows on my van etched. And I talked to a guy who said that he could show me how to do that. And I said, oh yeah, really? And he showed me, and from there, I've just gone crazy with it. I've done so many things. But I also do a little crocheting of creatures, like she does, but a little bigger. And I give these away. I leave them in grocery stores in the egg department. That would be the emotional support chicken. And in the pickle department, I will leave the emotional support pickle. Oops, you can't see him. There he goes. And I like making these guys up and just leaving them everywhere. I'll leave them on cars. People that ride around in the grocery carts that are, the ones that have to ride, generally they're kind of down. So I like dropping them in their cart when they don't see me. I leave them at gas pumps. That's another favorite. But I just make them out of my leftover yarn and give them away. So, thank you.
Oh wait, there's a question. Yeah, right. You're gonna have people following you around. Evan is up with a bike fork fixture.
Hello. So I've decided to try and make a bicycle fork for my new frame. I haven't made one before, so I don't have any of the tooling to kind of weld it in the right, in the right way. And believe it or not, parts of a bike need to be the right size for the wheels and the brakes to work, which is the goal. So I've been working on some scrap metal tools, so not the most exciting, but they were quite fun to make. This is kind of what I've been trying to functionally recreate. You know, they sell these dummy axles to kind of put your dropouts where they need to, but these are $75, and I have some scrap metal, so I figured I'd take a shot at doing a scrap metal version. It was a little tricky to try and come up with something that, you know, recreated this tombstone shape on the top, you know, so these dropouts have slots that need to be aligned, so I came up with this, you know, little, I had this hex shaft that I've carried around for about 6 years. I think it's been with me in a couple different states, but so I used that for the axle, and then made this little block to clock the slots together, and then made some little washers on the lathe. But anyways, so I made that on Saturday. It should help weld up the axle where it needs to go. And then for the brake, it's a lot of different bike brake standards, but this is a IS standard. So this is like a brake tab that you'd weld to a fork, but you know, these holes need to be at a certain radial distance from your axle. So this was a fun one to make because, you know, it's like, oh, one operation, I just make all the important holes, and then the rest of it's kind of just winging it on the machine. It's like, oh, I don't really care where any of the other edges are. So I made those holes, and then I used the bandsaw to kind of hog out some of these larger sections and then kind of clean them up with the mill. But and then milled a little slot here so it can clamp on to the axle. So you just tighten that down, and then once the rest of the fork's welded up, this will position the brake where it needs to go. But yeah, I'm gonna make a little spacer so that I can use this with the hex shaft. So if anyone has a hex broach, let me know. Otherwise, I will just make a round spacer. But anyways, mostly just a plug for scrap metal projects. You know, very fun. Takes a lot of the pressure off on the machining side. It's like, oh, not spending a lot of money on metal or anything, and, you know, kind of fun to figure out how to make it work with the, you know, parts or metal you have on hand. So anyways, thank you all. Any questions? Cool. Oh, yeah. Okay, perfect. Well, if yeah, I will talk to you about that. That'd be nice. Thanks.
Last but not least, we have Brian with kitchen trash. Brian can make even trash look beautiful, I'm sure.
Hey guys, it's me and Child again. So I think I've completed maybe 2 or 3 kitchens since the last time I showed you guys a kitchen. So keeping with tradition, I'm not going to show you another one today. But I have been working on one, and it's been quite interesting. So, oh, just a minute. Everyone, doggy, child, doggy. So I've been working on this kitchen, and I really enjoy pouring my countertops in concrete. First off, because I think it looks really cool, and it's definitely the most robust handmade way to make one, and they're wildly inexpensive. So that's also a plus. So anyway, I was making these countertops the other day, and this is already showing them in there, but I decided to do some rounded corners. And in order to work on a kitchen like this, I need child coverage. So my in-laws have been staying with me for the last week. And I don't know if you guys understand that feeling that you have after 6 days of your in-laws staying in a small house with you. So anyway, I was up at 2 a.m. and I'm like, I gotta get out of here. So I was making these at the shop here. And the material I had sitting around that was just happened to be the exact thickness I needed was this beautiful walnut. And you guys have seen walnut before. And so it's just this tiny little cutoff, kind of a nothing piece. You want down? She's going to want up in a second. Okay. But after I got done making those things, I noticed. Oh, don't do that. Don't do that. Okay, she's back. I don't know if you can actually see it. Like in this offcut, there was just some of the most like beautiful figure, and so this was just going to be a trash piece. You know, like it's going to get burned at my neighbor's house, and it was still really early in the morning, and I wasn't ready to go home yet. So if I can get it out. So I ended up making a little whistle. I made a couple of these a while back, hoping that the child would get into them. Apparently she was a little too young at the time for them, so I tried again. And I'll pass this around. It's really cool. I don't know if you can see that. I always punch the year into the end. See that? Get the number. It works. These are fun because you can make them on the lathe in like 15 minutes, probably less than that. If you're just trying to make something like bedtime. If you're just trying to make something really quick and dirty, like even less than that. But they're a lot of fun. So maybe someday we'll have a class on these. But yeah, it's a whistle. Yeah. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, Brian. Yeah, I don't actually know what she was touching, but okay, that's all for our show and shares tonight. A couple of classes coming up. This Friday is Valentine's Day, in case any of you don't know. We have if you need like a last minute date idea, we have 2 classes going on here. One, we have a Steel Heart Valentine. Joe, you have it here, don't you?
I do. There is 1 ticket left, but if you're coming as a couple, we'll work it out.
Oh, it's up there on the table. It is. If you want to make this with your honey on Valentine's Day, come on.
Or together, get a hold of me.
Come stag or together on Friday night at 7 p.m. There's also, if you're not into metal, there's also a Monsters Made with Love class this Friday, taught by Lori. She's here tonight, and you can catch her afterward, and you make it's a cute little sewn monster with a self-love twist. It's a lovely class, and it's a lot of fun. Saturday, we have our stitching social, so if you wanted to do some stitching and hanging out here, you can come by. That's free on Saturday afternoon at 1 p.m. And then next Tuesday is our 3rd Tuesday of the month, so we have a cookout. And then after show and share next Tuesday, we'll be showing a documentary that these guys are going to edit in 1 week. Just kidding. It's a different documentary that they made a few years ago, I think. About a maker in North Carolina who is blind, woodworker, and got community with his local makerspace. So we're going to be filming or showing that film after show and share next week, and doing a little Q&A, I think, with the people that made it. So if you're interested in that, come next week. Tonight, after this is over, we're going to take a few minutes break, and then we have new member onboarding. If you're interested in becoming a member, or if you are a trial member, it's required to come to this little orientation thing. We'll be doing that after let everybody clear out. So if you're interested in coming to that, stay in here. If you're not interested, go out into the classroom and make cool things. Go out of the classroom and make cool things. Have a great week, everybody.